It all started with a bet. "You're all talk, bro," I said, rolling my eyes at him. "You can't even handle the Ferris wheel at the fair without screaming like a baby. And now you're talking about exploring space." He grinned that ridiculous grin of his, the one that always made people question whether he was a genius or just utterly insane. "Oh, come on, Kayla. Space isn't scary. It's just big." "Big? That's your grand analysis of the universe." But then he said the one thing that could light a fire under me: "You're scared, aren't you?" That's how we ended up in a janky second-hand spaceship bought from a shady dude named Captain Crunch who smelled like burnt toast and old cheese. He assured us it was in stellar condition, which was obviously a lie since the dashboard sparked every time you touched it. "Are you sure this is safe?" I asked, gripping the edge of my seat as the ship hummed and groaned like it was coming to life against its will. "Safe-ish," he replied, slamming buttons and flipping switches like he actually knew what he was doing. The engine roared to life, shaking us so hard I felt my teeth rattle. "This is it. Next stop, romance with aliens." "Romance with aliens?" I screamed over the noise. "That's your big plan?" Before he could answer, the ship lurched forward like a drunken penguin, and suddenly we were shooting into the stars at a speed that made my stomach feel like it was trying to escape through my ears. The first few hours in space were interesting. "I don't think this ship has brakes," he admitted, his voice echoing in the cramped cockpit. "What?" "Relax, Kayla. Space is mostly empty. What could we possibly crash into?" He said that just as an asteroid zipped past the window, so close I could see its craters. "Mostly empty, huh?" We spent the next hour dodging debris, arguing about who was responsible for navigating. And discovering the ship's kitchen was nothing more than a mini-fridge stocked with expired protein bars and something labeled Intergalactic Mystery Goo. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, the ship's radar beeped furiously. Kayla," he said, staring at the screen. "I think we're being followed." "Followed? By who?" As if on cue, the ship jolted, and a voice crackled through the intercom. "Unregistered vessel, prepare to be boarded by the Galactic Federation." 2 seconds later, the ship was surrounded by sleek, glowing alien crafts that made ours look like a rusty tin can. "Quick. Pretend we're not home," he whispered. "It's a spaceship, not a door, you idiot." Before we could come up with a real plan, a beam of light engulfed our ship, and we were yanked into the belly of a massive alien mothership. The inside was like something out of a sci-fi movie: glowing floors, walls that shifted colors, and aliens of every shape and size. "I told you this would be fun," he said, grinning nervously as we were marched through the ship by 2 7-foot-tall aliens with tentacles for arms and what looked like glowing jellyfish heads. "Fun. We're about to be dissected." But instead of a lab, they took us to what looked like an intergalactic courtroom. The judge was a small, green alien with 3 eyes and a monocle. "You stand accused of reckless space travel, endangering galactic peace, and possession of an illegal spaceship," the judge boomed. "Illegal?" I whispered. "Captain Crunch didn't mention that part," he admitted sheepishly. The courtroom erupted into chaos as aliens argued over what to do with us. Some wanted to imprison us, others suggested throwing us out of an airlock. But then a pink, sparkly alien with 6 arms floated into the room and pointed at us. "I'll take them," she declared, her voice sugary sweet. Everyone went silent. Even the judge looked nervous. "You two will be my guests," she said, flashing a smile that was both charming and terrifying. "Guests?" I whispered. Yeah, I think we just got adopted by an alien, he replied. As we were led away, the pink alien leaned in close and whispered, "Don't worry, Earthlings. I have plans for you." The way she said plans sent shivers down my spine, but before I could panic, he elbowed me and whispered, "See? This is what I was talking about. Alien romance." I wanted to smack him, but I was too busy wondering if we'd survive the next 5 minutes. The pink alien's hospitality turned out to be equal parts terrifying and absurd. She introduced herself as Princess Glorvana of the Shimmering Nebula, a galactic celebrity known for her obsession with exotic life forms, which, lucky for us, included humans. Her spaceship wasn't just a mothership, it was a floating palace, complete with glowing crystal walls, gravity-defying fountains, and what appeared to be an interstellar karaoke bar. "This is where I entertain my favorites," Glorvana said with a giggle, gesturing to the plush velvet chairs shaped like giant mushrooms. "Entertain, huh?" I muttered to him. "Hey, this is starting to sound like a dream come true," he whispered back. I shot him a glare. "If this is a dream, it's your fault. And also a nightmare." Things escalated quickly. Glorvana insisted we change into what she called appropriate attire. By the time we were done, he looked like a space cowboy in a shimmering, sequined cape, and I was stuck in what can only be described as a metallic tutu with glowing antennae. "You look like a disco ball," I told him, stifling laughter. "You're one to talk, Sparkle Fairy." The absurdity didn't stop there. Glorvana had arranged a welcome banquet in our honor, complete with a buffet of questionable alien cuisine. "Try this," he said, holding up what looked like a glowing jelly bean. "I'm not eating that." "Fine, more for me." He popped it into his mouth and immediately turned bright blue. I burst out laughing. "You look like a smurf." "Do you feel the romance now?" he joked, his voice slightly distorted from the alien food. The fun ended when Glorvana revealed her true intentions. "You two are here to help me win the Cosmic Compatibility Contest," she said, clasping her hands together. "The what?" I asked. "It's the biggest event in the galaxy. Couples compete in challenges to prove their love. The winners get a cosmic wish, a single, unlimited wish granted by the Star Council." "Okay, that's insane," I said, shaking my head. But of course, he was already on board. "A wish? Like, anything we want? Count us in." Before I could object, Glorvana added, "Oh, don't misunderstand. You won't be the ones competing." "I will. You're just here to make me look good." "Wait, what?" The contest began the next morning, and it was absolute madness. The first challenge was a laser love maze. We were shoved into a labyrinth filled with shifting walls, glowing traps, and alien creatures that looked like the unholy offspring of a snake and a pogo stick. "I don't see how this proves love," I shouted, ducking under a laser beam. "It's about teamwork," he replied, trying to wrestle a pogo snake off his leg. "Then why is she just floating above us, sipping a martini?" I pointed at Glorvana, who was lounging on a hover chair, barking orders at us through a megaphone. "Move faster, Earthlings. My reputation is on the line." After narrowly escaping the maze, we were thrown into the second challenge, a zero-gravity dance-off against a pair of four-legged aliens with neon fur. "This is ridiculous," I groaned, flailing as I floated upside down. "Ridiculously fun," he said, spinning in midair like an over-enthusiastic space DJ. Our dancing somehow impressed the judges, though I suspect it was more out of pity than anything else. Glorvana was ecstatic. You're doing wonderfully, my little humans. I might actually win this year. Glad you're happy, I muttered, wiping alien glitter off my face. But then came the third challenge, and things took a dark turn. We were dropped onto a barren, rocky moon for a survival test. The rules were simple: last 24 hours without getting captured by the other contestants, who were all armed with bizarre alien weapons. We're so dead, I said as we hid behind a boulder, watching a six-eyed alien wielding a laser bazooka stomp past. Relax, I've got a plan, he said, holding up a gadget he'd swiped from the ship. What is that? A translator. If I can reprogram it, we can communicate with them. How is that going to help? We negotiate. Or confuse them. Either way, it's better than nothing. His plan sort of worked. We managed to convince one alien, a grumpy, crab-like creature named Blorg, to join forces with us in exchange for a bag of expired protein bars. But our luck ran out when we stumbled into a trap set by the reigning champions of the contest, a pair of 7-foot-tall lizard aliens with glowing eyes and armor that looked impenetrable. Run, he yelled, grabbing my hand. We sprinted through the rocky terrain, dodging laser blasts and ducking behind boulders. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. This is your fault, I shouted as we slid down a slope, narrowly avoiding a net trap. My fault? You're the one who agreed to come to space. I was tricked. Our argument was cut short when we found ourselves cornered at the edge of a cliff. The lizard aliens closed in, their weapons humming ominously. Well, it's been nice knowing you, I said, glaring at him. But then he did something so ridiculous, so completely insane, that I couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry. He grabbed the translator, held it up like a microphone, and started singing. What are you doing? I hissed. Alien karaoke, he shouted back, his voice echoing across the cliff. To my utter disbelief, the lizard aliens stopped, tilted their heads, and then started clapping. It turned out that alien karaoke was considered a sacred art form in their culture. They let us go, and we even scored bonus points for cultural appreciation. As we stumbled back to the spaceship, exhausted and covered in alien goo, I couldn't help but laugh. Still think this is fun? I asked. The best adventure ever, he said with a grin.
For a moment, I almost agreed. Almost. If I thought things couldn't get more ridiculous after the karaoke fiasco, I was dead wrong. Glorvena, who now believed we were her ticket to eternal galactic glory, had us signed up for the galaxy's most extreme love trials. I didn't agree to this. I protested as she fitted us with matching harnesses. You're under my patronage, she said with a wink. And besides, isn't this fun? I glared at her, but before I could reply, the floor beneath us lit up with neon arrows. A booming voice announced, "Welcome to the next challenge, the love cannon catastrophe." The ground shook as a giant cannon-like contraption emerged from the arena floor. It was decked out in heart-shaped designs that would have been cute if it wasn't pointing directly at us. What's the objective here? I asked nervously. Simple, Glorvana chimed in. Survive the cannon blasts and make it to the other side. Other side of what? I asked, but then the cannon fired, cutting off my words. A giant pink puff ball shot out, hurtling toward us at the speed of light. We ducked just in time as it exploded into a cloud of glitter that smelled like burnt marshmallows. I think I'm allergic to this kind of stupid, I shouted. Come on, Kayla, this is just intergalactic dodgeball, he said, laughing as he dodged another puffball that burst into confetti. with explosions. The cannon didn't just shoot puffballs. It escalated. Soon, we were dodging giant sticky goo balls, bouncing plasma hearts, and a truly horrifying rain of alien love letters, each one bursting into a chorus of "I'll always love you" when it hit the ground. By the time we reached the other side, we were covered in goo, glitter, and what I could only describe as alien perfume. "You smell like a space prom," I told him. "And you look like a rejected Valentine's Day card," he shot back, grinning. We barely had time to catch our breath before the next challenge was announced. Get ready for the Cosmic Couples Obstacle Course. The arena transformed into a floating platform of spinning gears, glowing orbs, and what looked suspiciously like a pool of liquid rainbow. "This looks slippery," I said, eyeing the spinning platforms. "We've got this," he said confidently. "I really hate your optimism." The first part of the course involved hopping across glowing platforms that vanished seconds after you touched them. "Don't stop moving," he shouted as he leapt ahead. "Easy for you to say," I replied, slipping and barely catching myself. By the time I made it across, he was already halfway through the next section, a series of swinging alien vines covered in slimy goo. "This is like gym class from hell," I muttered as I grabbed a vine. "Don't look down," he called out. Of course, I looked down and immediately regretted it. The pool of liquid rainbow was bubbling ominously, and every so often, a tentacle would pop out, waving around like it was looking for lunch. Why is it always tentacles? The final section of the course was the worst, a slide that shot us straight into a tunnel filled with what I could only describe as alien soap bubbles. "Is this supposed to be romantic?" I shouted as we were blasted through the tunnel. "Maybe it's alien romance," he replied, laughing uncontrollably. When we finally emerged, we were drenched, soapy, and laughing so hard we could barely stand. Glorvana floated down to meet us, her 6 arms clapping enthusiastically. "Marvelous. You're natural entertainers." "We're naturally traumatized," I corrected her, wiping soap out of my hair. The fun or chaos, depending on how you looked at it, didn't end there. That evening, Glorvana decided we needed a team bonding session in her private karaoke lounge. "I'm not singing," I said firmly. "Oh, come on, Kayla," he teased. "You've got the voice of an angel." "More like a dying walrus," I muttered. But somehow, I ended up on stage with him, singing a horribly off-key duet of an alien love ballad. The lyrics made no sense, something about moonbeams and squid hearts, but the aliens loved it. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more ridiculous, an alarm blared. "Attention! Unauthorized ship detected." The arena went into lockdown, and Glorvana's guards scrambled. "What now?" I groaned. Before anyone could answer, a hole was blasted into the arena wall, and a group of rogue aliens stormed in. They were dressed in mismatched armor and wielding weapons that looked like they were cobbled together from junkyard scraps. "Who are these guys?" I asked. "Space pirates," he said, grinning like it was Christmas morning. "Why are you smiling?" "Because this is awesome." The pirates demanded the Star Council's prize, the Cosmic Wish. When Glorvana refused, chaos erupted. Lasers flew in every direction, aliens screamed, and the arena descended into total mayhem. "We need to get out of here," I shouted, ducking behind a fallen pillar. "Or we could steal a pirate ship," he suggested. "You're insane." But as the pirates closed in, I realized he might be our only chance of survival. "Fine. But if we die, I'm haunting you." "Deal." The arena was chaos. Lasers whizzed past, aliens screamed, and pirates roared orders in a language that sounded like static mixed with burps. "Over there," he shouted, pointing to a sleek pirate ship docked near the edge of the arena. "You mean the one surrounded by space criminals with plasma swords?" I shot back, panting as we sprinted through the debris. "Exactly. Low odds are still odds." We zigzagged through the carnage, dodging explosions and slipping past distracted pirates. I tripped over a fallen piece of alien tech, my heart racing as a plasma ball narrowly missed my head. "Kayla, get up," he yelled, pulling me to my feet just as a towering pirate loomed over us, weapon raised. Before I could even scream, Glorvana swooped in, all 6 arms whirling with a sparkling energy whip. "No one messes with my humans," she roared, taking down the pirate with a single, dazzling strike. "Did she just?" "She's terrifying," I muttered, "but I kind of love her right now." We made it to the pirate ship and scrambled inside, slamming the hatch behind us. The interior was a mess of wires, gears, and alien junk, but it had one critical feature, a working control panel. "Can you fly this thing?" I asked, trying to catch my breath. "Of course," he said, then hesitated. "I mean, how hard can it be?" "That's not comforting." He pressed buttons at random until the ship roared to life, shaking like it was trying to tear itself apart. "Hold on," he shouted as we shot out of the arena, dodging laser fire and careening wildly through space. For a brief moment, it felt like we'd made it. The stars stretched out before us, and the chaos of the arena faded into the distance. But then the ship jolted, and alarms blared. "What now?" I groaned, gripping the edge of my seat. He checked the controls, his face falling. The pirates activated a self-destruct sequence. "Are you kidding me? We've got 5 minutes before this thing blows. Can we disarm it?" "Not unless you suddenly became an expert in alien engineering." Panic set in as the timer ticked down. The ship's systems were unresponsive, and every attempt to steer us toward safety failed. "This is it, isn't it?" I whispered, my voice trembling. "Don't say that," he said, his usual grin replaced by a look of sheer determination. "We're not giving up." "But what can we do?" He paused, then glanced at the escape pod in the corner of the cockpit. "There's only one pod." "No," I said immediately, shaking my head. "We're not splitting up." "There's no time to argue," he said firmly. "One of us has to go, or we both die." "I'm not leaving you." He grabbed my shoulders, his voice soft but urgent. "Kayla, you have to. You're the smart one. You will figure out how to get help. Just promise me you'll tell everyone I was a hero, okay?" Tears filled my eyes as the reality of the situation sank in. "This isn't fair," I choked out. "Life rarely is," he said with a sad smile. Before I could protest, he shoved me into the pod and hit the launch button. The pod shot out of the ship just as it exploded, the blast lighting up the darkness of space. I screamed his name, tears streaming down my face as the pod carried me away. For what felt like an eternity, I floated in silence, consumed by grief. The stars, once beautiful and full of promise, now felt cold and empty. But then, a faint signal crackled through the pod's radio. "Kayla! Come in, Kayla!" My heart stopped. "Bro? Is that you?" "Of course it's me. Did you really think I'd let some second-rate pirate ship take me out?" I laughed and cried at the same time. "How are you alive?" Turns out, I'm not just handsome, I am resourceful. Found a maintenance hatch and ejected right before the explosion. Gloravana picked me up in her royal cruiser. She says hi, by the way. I shook my head, still in disbelief. I hate you for putting me through that. Love you too, he replied with a chuckle. Minutes later, a glowing spaceship appeared outside the pod. The hatch opened, and there he was, grinning like an idiot. You really thought you'd get rid of me that easily, he teased as he pulled me into a hug. You're the worst, I said, punching his arm lightly. And you're stuck with me. As Gloravana's cruiser carried us back to Earth, I couldn't help but smile. The adventure had been insane, terrifying, and downright ridiculous, but somehow, we'd made it through. Next time, I said, leaning back in my seat, let's pick a vacation that doesn't involve exploding spaceships and near-death experiences. He grinned. Where's the fun in that? And for once, I didn't argue. The end.